All right, I am properly hydrated. Ready. Maren, ready?
Can you see me?
What's up? Hey! How's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Living the dream.
How's business?
It's good. It's a weird thing to do. This virtual thing. But we've just decided that, once the earth stops melting, that this is a good thing to do once a year. And
Don't you do it like 5 times a year?
so for people who don't know, can you introduce yourself and say who you are and what you do?
Yes. My name's Maren. I'm responsible for Mallow Toys.
Is it produced? It's Mallow.
Okay, so I'm the only one that says Mallow, apparently. You want to say Mallow? That's fine.
What does it mean? Because like in Spanish, like malo is bad.
I like marshmallows. I mean,
So is it? I guess is a marshmallow. So
I
never
don't
mind.
have the answer, though.
Okay. I do love all the creative backgrounds that people try to do their interviews on, and I think that that your background is like the best so far, because
Yeah,
you've just
room.
gone with the John Oliver like blank void.
Yeah, I'm in an empty room in Portland, Oregon right now.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about this guy right here.
Oh yeah, I made that.
You did indeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost sold out.
Is
So everyone should go buy one. I think there's 4 or 5 left.
Holy shit!
Clapping. Woo!
Thank you, everybody, to bought one.
So
and, send you a cake.
So how did you get into this?
Short answer, I just kind of figured out how to get bubbles. And as soon as I figured out how to get bubbles, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
That was it?
I mean, I just like, I wanted to make, I think I saw a figure somewhere like on Tumblr or Pinterest or something. And then I tried to find it and I couldn't find it. And then I guess that kind of like opened the door to wanting to make my own. Since I couldn't find it, there was no SEO associated with that figure. There was nothing. So like,
do you remember what it was that you saw, or another artist's work that was the inspiration?
I don't know who made it. I don't know. I think it was like in the lower corner of one of the pictures from like maybe one of your booths or one of, the other toy people's booths.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a Jarvis Cocker toy from this band Pulp. And I just remember thinking like, holy fuck, who made that? Oh, am I allowed to speak freely?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. I don't know if there's like children present or whatever.
There could be, but fuck them. No, I'm just kidding. Janky has the beep machine over there. He'll just beep you.
Oh, cool. Okay. Hi, Janky. By the way, I have a Robert Smith coming your way.
I have a medical droid coming your way.
So the I mean, action figures in this medium that we are dabbling in here, that a lot of these artists are calling their medium of choice, tended to be for good or bad, there's a whole history associated with it, as known as a boy's toy. And fortunately now most stores have gotten rid of the boys and girls aisle, and there are people who have done research studies, especially with video games like Nintendo. Nintendo has realized now that they lost out on half of the world's market because they were forced to make a choice whether Nintendo was going to be in the boys aisle or the girls aisle. And so they ended up making it gray and putting it in the boys aisle. Doesn't mean that girls didn't play with it, but statistically, the group of people at least in the United States, that are playing the most video games are like women over 35. More so than anything else, they're playing like Candy Crush and like just all of these like online games, and the market is huge, and all of these like execs are like mad. But that being said, how do you end up coming to choose this as your medium?
Well, I went to art school initially and studied painting, and but I never painted. I mean, it would take me like 6 months sometimes to make a painting, and I have a really short attention span. So I guess like my current like job outside of toys, I needed something like just stupid to do with my brain, that was just not serious, and I needed something that I could do quickly, because toy making is like a bunch of like little bursts of work. It's like 20 minutes here, 5 hours here, go glue all this shit together, and then it's done. It's not 5 months, so the reward is quicker. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Sure. I'm also sure that all your fans who are, who buy all your stuff are happy to know that you think it's stupid.
Oh my God. In a negative way. I meant it in an amazing, awesome, balanced, and healthy, you're the best ever way.
So with your other job, I can only assume is stressful then, and so you're looking for a creative outlet.
Yeah. I was in a respiratory therapy school when I started making toys. It was like a year in. And the first toy I made was the Jurassic Park pile of shit, like just a mound of brown clay. And it was really like, it was just because like I'd had a really shitty day at clinicals, and I was just kind of like, I just need to do something like really ridiculous right now to make myself kind of laugh. And it's really therapeutic personally for me, which is why it's really entertaining for me that it's done so well and people are really into these things I make, because really, I mean, I'm just having a good time and making a huge fucking mess, but whatever.
So it's working, it's serving its purpose.
Absolutely, yeah.
But a career in the arts for you, even though you studied that, was not.
I did that.
Not practical.
I was a graphic designer for a while, and I hated it because I felt like I have only so much creative like life every day, and when it gets drained by something I don't give a shit about, it's not cool for me.
Right. I always talk about this. I had a friend in school who was a writer, and had the opportunity to go and work for someone else and write for them, and turned it down, saying that he would rather be a waiter, because that way when he got home at night he would still be inspired to write.
Yeah.
And the same for like musicians who, if you can read music, if you can play, if you can read cold music and play, you can go get a job.
Yeah.
You can, or be in a cover band. But the likelihood that you would do music for your job and then go home at night and then want to like do something else, it just creatively is too hard.
Yeah, and it's especially when like if you're doing something creative for your job and it's not going well, so you have to work really hard at like really getting creative, so you're kind of like past your reserve a little bit, And then it's like, I mean, I remember after I stopped being a designer, like it took me like 6 months to even want to make anything because it was just like, fuck all of this shit.
Wow.
But
So,
it's so much better now. Everybody's
so did you have action figures growing up?
yeah. Well, so the other aspect of the toys that I make, which by the way, the interview you just had with Green Plastic Tunnels was very interesting. I had no idea that his dad was a sculptor. It's really fucking cool. The as like an artist, I guess, and whatever you want to call me, I really enjoy the work that's been made by somebody's hands. Like I don't like the shit that's made by 3D printing or it's made just kind of, I don't know, in a mechanical kind of gross way. And I also think that like those original toys, they work well. You don't need to remake them. I hate that they remade them. But long story short, I did play with action figures growing up, but I played with like My Little Pony, Rainbow Bright, Care Bears. My brother, who I totally idolized growing up, had all the Star Wars toys.
So they were around. So
Oh yeah,
do you had some nostalgia for it?
totally.
So what's up with the creature?
What do you mean?
I don't know. What do I mean?
Well, the Remco creature, I am a real big fan of just because of its simplicity. And I believe, I've been told this, but I haven't researched it, that the sculptor that did that original sculpt also did the Kenner Chewbacca.
Did you have one as a kid? Or did your brother have one?
My brother had one, I think. Honestly, I don't remember growing up with that. The main reason that I picked and liked creatures because I liked the fact that it was originally done by a lady, but some douchebag boss was like, "Oh, I did it," and whatever.
Wow, I'm not familiar with that story. So it was originally sculpted by a woman?
Yeah, it was originally sculpted by a lady, by a woman who worked at Disney, and it was.
We're talking about the Remco action figure?
Well, we're talking about the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, the actual creature outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then her boss was like, "Nah, I did this. Fuck you, lady." And
Got it. So there's a little bit of political commentary in every creature that you release.
I mean, maybe, but not really.
Seems that way.
A little. I mean, just I'm personally partial to the creature because I really like the fact that a lady originally came up with it. It's such a cool costume. It's a really amazing mask. I don't know if you've actually like paused during that movie and just looked at the creature and how fucking cool it is. Just the geometric of it, the symmetry of it, and just the flow. It's just this organic, amazing. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of her work, and I'm pissed that she didn't get enough play because it's a man's world, Dove. Or at least it was. It's not anymore, but you know. I rest my case.
Where does one go from there? Wow. Yeah, it's changing slowly. I mean, I had a weird childhood when it came to that. Like, you know, I had very liberal parents, and you know, I had this sort of like, you know, 70s education, like men and women are the same.
Yeah.
That didn't serve me well. You know, men and women are entitled to equal opportunities and equal rights.
Right.
But I think it's okay, you know, like, it's like my kids ask me questions like that I don't want to answer, that are like, you know, about how come most of the teachers at school are women, right? And I kind of like, the answer is like, I can tell you why statistically it happens to be this way, but I don't, but it's not, the answer is not indicative of what
It should be.
it has to be,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like, so you can go back to, to saying like, statistically, yes, that is correct, but no one wants to tell a man that they can't be a teacher, or that women have to be a teacher, or that that's the only job you can have because, of your biology. Weird conversations.
Well, I think that like I know that it is a delicate topic for sure, and I don't want to give the wrong impression that I don't like boys, because I definitely do. But like I guess I just kind of like to have the conversation about, those differences when stuff like that happened in the past, where like here's a woman that did all the work for that costume, like
Right.
she was the art behind it, and stealing that away from someone just because of their gender or whatever
Right.
background is fucked. But
Sure.
like, I mean, on the flip side of that, like, I mean, I made a Clockwork Bader, and I mean, that movie has gotten a lot of flack, I think, in the last couple of years because of, the violence against women in it. And, it's kind of promoting, I guess, rape to a degree, according to certain,
I mean, it got the flack when it came out.
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
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 But that's kind of that whole theory, like, it had an anti-violent message, but
Yeah.
it used violence to, like, that's the whole conundrum. Like, can I use violence to, to give an anti-violent message, to make an anti-violent statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I made that toy because like I felt kind of compelled to, for the sake of the fact that I'm a lady, and I don't find that movie to be offensive. I love that movie. I think it was a great film. I love all the things that Kubrick probably does, but like, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to just be about violence and rape. It's also about, saying fuck you and doing what you want to do,
Sure.
Which is
But I think
what I'm doing with these toys.
Right. I think most of us watch the movie and get the point and take that away from it. It's just most of the criticism is leveled against it because of the one idiot that sees it and decides that is now misses the point, or is too stupid or ignorant to get it, and uses that as an inspiration.
Right.
And that's, we've had this conversation here in the office. It's like, it's always like kind of a least common denominator.
Yeah, those people are usually really loud. So they come off as like being a majority when they're really just loud.
Sure. I mean, there's like, on Bill Maher the other night, he talked about how on Turner Classics they have to have someone come on before each movie now and start to talk about like these racial stereotypes and what what was going on in these movies, and kind of like apologize for it in a way. And I get it. I mean, there's, I don't know, does anyone need to watch, like, what's that D.W. Griffith film, Birth of a Nation? Like, I mean, it's like so bad that it's like, do people need, maybe film students need to see it, maybe in like some sort of like critical history study class, but entertainment wise, like, I don't know, there's a line there where I don't think Clockwork Orange is there, but so
Who knows?
do you I mean, there's very few women in the scene, certainly not well represented. There's not half of, you know, if women are 50% of the population or a little bit more, 50% of the art on this table is not by women. There's a large number of women that are collectors. But so how do you feel like an outsider? Do you feel like one of the guys, or like, have you gotten any flack? Do you feel accepted?
Well, honestly, I've only felt accepted by the toy community. I've had so many artists and people that make toys reach out and just speak to me as a toy maker, which is awesome. I've never had anyone be, competitive or weird or prickly. It's just been completely positive. I mean, I still get called bro all the time, but that's because I don't post any pictures of myself, but I don't really,
Right.
I don't advertise that I'm a lady, because honestly, I mean, I've never had the thought like, what kind of toy do I want to make as a lady? It's just what kind of toy do I want to make, because I don't really, I mean, I'm all for women's rights. I'm all for, women being more represented and making toys and being just as, known as men in this field. Is it a field?
Maybe.
But yeah, I don't know. It would be dishonest for me, I think, to be like, to make a bunch of, women centric or, female oriented toys. Because like if I made like a Princess Leia with one of those pussy hat things or something, I'm sure it would sell, but it would be dishonest, because honestly, like, I went to the Women's March, but it was because I had to walk through it to go home after work.
it would be disingenuous for you to do it.
Yeah.
But there are some people who are doing it because they feel passionate about doing it.
Totally.
I think
that's cool. Totally okay. But
I think the point is that you should be able to do whatever you want to do.
exactly, 100%.
Right. So tell me about the last figure you made for us. You talked about being called bro online, and the figure that you made for us previously. Can you talk about that and what that was a reaction to?
That was Darth Cupcake. That was just being called bro and dude and chief and I mean, because as I was first starting to get noticed by other artists and other people that collect toys, I mean, they all assume that I'm a dude, which is totally, it's entertaining to me. I'm not offended by it. And so I just decided to make the most feminine, obnoxious fucking Darth Vader I could, and I just puked that thing out, and that's what happened. I mean, it was Darth Cupcake, and it did very well. I did a Darth Donut for the In Action 9 show a couple weeks ago, and that went well too. So I think people like, pastries and Darth Vader. So yeah.
Wow. Amazing. So what's next? Where does it go from here? You have this, sounds like a pretty nice job working in do you deal with COVID patients in respiratory health?
All the time.
All the time. So this must be is it a stressful job right now?
I mean, it's fine. We're all fine.
But I mean, is the stress of the job going to change next year when like COVID is, greatly diminished, or is there?
Honestly, this is not a representation of where I work. This is just my personal opinion. I think the main worry this year with COVID-19 was that there was going to be flu. Like every year, there's the busy season at the hospital, which is flu season.
Right.
because each hospital is really geared and set up and, you know, given enough supplies for the busy season. And so the thought of COVID-19 and the flu hitting was very scary for a lot of us. But there hasn't been one fucking flu. I mean, nobody gets the flu because everybody's wearing the masks. So
everyone's wearing a mask, everyone's washing their hands, every surface is sanitized. Like, how could the flu survive?
Yeah, so the flu has been really sad this year, which is great. So I think next year, you know, it'll probably just be just as busy because the flu will probably come back. I mean, there might be some, you know, residual. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, we don't know shit about this virus. Really. I mean, we know a little bit, but like, I mean, we all assumed there was going to be this huge wave after Christmas. There was no wave. There was like a little bit of a trickle in. There was a couple of people. I mean, it wasn't nearly. It shows that we don't really know what we're dealing with. But it's a hell of a disease. Don't get it.
Sure. Right. So, but I think so if you weren't doing action figures, I mean, would you always be doing something creative?
Yeah.
Like that is your outlet.
Yeah, that is I have to make stuff. I've always made stuff my whole life. I mean, it's really, really like therapeutic for me to make stuff. And to communicate stuff that I can't really put into words to. Like I don't know. I hate art therapy, that whole like word comment.
That has a very
yeah, it's kind of like, what are we doing? But like, it is, I mean, I would always be making something. I mean, and especially like with the seriousness and the, you know, kind of like, I can't be creative at all in my job. Like, I can't be like, I wonder what this ventilator setting does. Like, I can't. It'd be really bad. I mean, the doctors can do that, but I can't. So like, yeah, I have to make toys or something, you know.
Right. Or else somebody dies.
Yeah. And then that's on me. And then, yeah, it's very, very bad.
How many beverages have you provided yourself during this interview?
I have like 3 here. Let's keep hydrated. I need something to do with my hands because I'm like, I've never done an interview about my toys before. I feel like I mean, it's funny. Like I worked the emergency room all day yesterday. I was just thinking about this and I was like, fine. And then I'm about to go on with you and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fucking nervous. And it's like, huh.
I told you, it's just like you and me talking on the phone.
I know, but like I don't talk about my toys. I don't ever talk about my toys. I tell my coworkers when they ask me like, what do you do for fun? I say I make toys, and they always say like sex toys. Like, I hope not. But
wow.
It's like nobody gets it. Like, so I don't talk about it much because if I do talk about it, then I have to be like, let me just fucking show you, and then I have to explain, and it's a whole ordeal.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think is going to happen next with this whole toy thing? What do you want to see happen, Dev?
What do I want to see happen? I mean, what I want is not very realistic. You know, I do a lot of things to.
Don't give up on your dreams.
They're not my dreams. I mean, they're. I get a lot out of this. I like working with creative people, and I like being sort of the nexus of helping get this stuff to people that are interested, and I like seeing those reactions. I always want more. I'm living my life forever in like a small little niche, and this is a niche of, you know, there's like collectors and people collect toys, and then people collect action figures, and then art toys, and then this is like the weird little sliver of art toys. And you know, talked about the other day in the interview with Clutter about how I always feel like I'm getting like kind of pushed back into my corner.
Mhm.
And every time we have these like grand plans, even when, we did projects like the Vader project, and just toured the world, and people would show up, but when it came to selling them, or even with this, this art toy auction that we did with Heritage last month, or earlier this month even, it just, I felt like it was just all the people on my mailing list that we promoted to that showed up and bid.
Yeah.
And I really wanted like, these other like people to like discover and create sort of like a frenzy, and never seems to happen. I've tried this model, setting up this same booth at a regular toy show
Mhm.
that is not, a sophisticated, convention with collectors and industry people from all around the world, which San Diego and New York is.
Mhm.
And they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of explaining, like, what is this? And it's like, well, these artists who've chosen action figures as their medium, and some of them get it. They take photos of the things they like, and they laugh, and then they walk away.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's not for everybody. It's really for this like niche of people who are, and it's an interesting group of people. There are people who are art collectors who recognize this as art.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are action figure collectors who are just, burnt and jaded after 20 years, that don't want anything new that these companies are putting out. There's a couple other categories of people who, some people are just fans of the artists themselves.
Yeah.
Or, it's like you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collector and you have everything, and then someone puts this out and you're like, oh, cool, look at that Froggy, that's cool, that's funny, or you're a Muppet collector and you have to have that for your collection. I mean, I always want more. I'm always like, I always come home and my wife's like, how'd it go? I'm like, kind of like never satisfied. And I don't know, it doesn't stop me from, I don't know how to answer your question.
That was an answer. It's okay.
It is what it is. It's gonna be what it is, and I have a limited capability to make it more than it is, if that makes sense. The next thing I want to do is put out a book, and I'm hoping this new schedule of having a DKE con in March and not doing New York, and having shows spread out 3 times a year, every 4 months, is going to allow some extra time to actually work on a larger project.
Mhm.
Because just the day, Ian's laughing at it over there, just in the, because it is a tremendous amount of work, and we basically have to, the writing of the book or editing of it is basically just sorting the archive of taking all of your work and putting it in a box, and all of this artist putting it in a box, and then getting everyone to sign something, and then getting everything photographed and
Yeah.
compiling it and doing a Kickstarter. And then I still have this hope that like, gonna make this book, and like there's gonna be other art collectors or other people in the world that will look at this and say, oh, look at this art form.
Yeah.
And I know what the answer is going to be, is like, I'm going to sell the books to everyone in the scene, and maybe a few will trickle out to other people, and then
Yeah.
that's it. So
Well, I
I don't,
think it's not just on you. I think it's on all the people that do these toys, myself included, to kind of, I mean, because I mean, one of the things that I kind of feel like I need to do and will do is I really want to focus on what I'm capable of doing with these rules that is the toy,
Mhm.
because my rules I've just decided are it needs to have a bubble and it needs to have a card. So it's like, I mean, that's why, I mean, I really like, I like people that kind of push those boundaries. I like it
Mhm.
when artists are like really just fucking going for it. Like Raika's the bubble he did for that pet fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like holy shit, you know. Brad cool.
Yeah.
And you know, just like it's a really great medium, especially if you have crazy ADHD like I do, because it's just like you can do little bursts of like, you know.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
I
I don't feel like it's all on me. I'm just like doing my part, but mostly time kind of takes care of these things.
yeah.
And it's the person who's, 20 now, kind of into this, and then by the time they're 30 or 40, they're in, they're an art director somewhere. We were talking to Jim Mafood about this the other day. Like when he first started out,
Who's that guy?
Jim Mafood is a comic book artist, and that's kind of his crazy style
really
there.
cool. Like
Yeah.
it.
He's been doing it for 25 years. He does comic book covers. We do a few action figures with him, but he said it's very different for him getting a job now than when he started, 20 years ago. He's dealing with an art director that's 50 that is like, your style's a little weird. Like, can you do more of this and more of that? And now he gets calls from people, art directors that are younger than him, that grew up on his work, and they're like, yeah, it just has to be PG, just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And we'll release it. And so I think that is more likely to happen. I know the Sucklord in particular, kind of being on the forefront, is likely to get more jobs like that as time progresses. But much to his frustration, he's like, he wants to cash in now. It's like,
Yeah, what is his goal?
Ian and Jenky are laughing. What is his goal?
It's like riches and
Yeah, I think
sex and money and drugs and partying and pink stuff.
Ian says you nailed it. I don't want to speak for him, but it seems that way. He's retired officially, like 3 or 4 times already. And, I mean, he's good at what he does, but I don't think he likes how much work it is. I don't think he's been able to find any steady help to run a business for him. I think if he lived out here in California, that he and I would have a business. But I can't work with him, on another coast, because when I call him, you just don't know what state of mind he is like, when I call. Sometimes I call, and if I don't like the answer that I'm getting, I have to wait and call back then a few days later and try and elicit the response that I want. He's not actually as bad as we're making it out to be, but I think he could have, a psychedelic brand of clothing and toys and things that he could art direct, but he's kind of stuck in living in New York, paying rent on a studio and rent on an apartment.
Yeah.
And he's doing that by choice. Like, that is a huge monthly nut to come up with. And he's one of the few people in this scene, like, that does it full time. And I've enjoyed talking to everyone in these interviews about what they do and how they cope with the need to do art, talking to you about these kind of subjects. And I think it's helpful for all the other artists who, just about everyone except for, maybe I can count on one hand, like, do this full time.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people who'd prefer to do it full time. But then sometimes, like the formula that you've come up with is, sometimes that's like the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm not brave or what, but I really like the idea. I like being able to switch gears and not think about it at all, because I have my other job. but then I also like the freedom that my other job gives me to basically just do whatever the fuck I want with my toys, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not dependent on selling toys. I mean, if they sell, that's great. If not, I'll just keep them, you know?
And that is on one hand, that is a great uh, that's a great attitude to have, because
Yeah.
you can kind of do whatever you want. It depends on the personality. Whereas a sucklord, like if he's got to pay rent this month, you know, he's hurrying up to like put something out and do something and get it done. And that's the motivating force. Like, hey, I got to pay rent. So here, I made these. This is what everyone wants. Boom.
Yeah.
Right. So it does prevent you from being, from exploring sometimes and taking chances. But on the other,
Probably very stressful. It's probably
very right. And then on the other hand, there are people who have all the time and resources in the world and then just sit there meandering around because they have no deadline. And sometimes there's some artists that need that deadline.
oh yeah.
That's like, you know what, because a self-imposed deadline is not really working. It's like, I need to make money, so I produce this, and it goes out there, and there's not a lot of time to edit. And then sometimes, you know, a work of genius sort of like, you know, something exceptional comes out of that. And there might be some, you know, you get an A+ on that 10% of it, and some is like a B and a B-, but sometimes to get to that A+, like some people are their own worst enemies and just edit themselves. Ian just looked at me again.
I mean, I know when I was painting and doing all that shit in school, I would constantly get in my own way. I was constantly comparing my work to others. I was constantly like, because I had a vision in my head of what I wanted things to look like and what I wanted to be able to pull off, but I just, you know, it just was taking so much time. And so when you go a long like chunk of time without any like, you know, kind of reward for your work in a way, whether that be finishing it or, you know, doing the brushstroke exactly as you'd like it to be. I mean, it can be really hard to stay on course, I think, for people, especially when you're the only one keeping you on course to be creative,
Sure.
and get the work done. I mean, I
You know,
hope people that make toys or want to make toys will just don't compare yourself to other people and just fucking do it. Just get out of your own way. You can copy me all you want. If that means that you are going to jump off of what I do and then make your own, then I'm more than happy to not say a word when you do it. Because I think, yeah, it needs to, people are just, it breaks my heart when there's so many creative people and people that really need to create and be artistic, but they can't because they're, you know, beating themselves up all the time.
sure. Yeah, I mean, painting is, I mean, imagine people who spend a month on a painting, you know, they're just all alone,
Oh yeah.
and put it in a gallery, and then it doesn't sell like this.
Yeah, you're all alone in an unventilated room with titanium white on your bottom lip, maybe, and solvents, and just, you know, probably just the life of your actual existence. I mean, yeah, losing years.
So on the spectrum of like introvert to extrovert, like where are you?
I'm really fucking introverted. Look at,
You
I'm
know?
in an empty room. There's nothing here except for my pile of shit toys right there. That's it.
Yeah, I listened to a TED talk about introverts, and it was kind of fascinating because it talked about how most of society is created by is is created for extroverts to excel.
Yeah.
Our current society, whereas, you know, 100 years ago or more, the introvert was more valued. You know,
Yeah.
the person who sat there and read a book or whatever, and they would cite all of these, you know, crazy examples, and how like the person at a job who's extroverted is the one that gets the raise, is the one that gets the
Yeah, because they're memorable, they stand
Yeah.
out, they're loud, they're, easy to be around because they're really jovial maybe, or they're really, personable. Whereas, people like me that I have RBF, that's why I love these masks. It's because I can look as bitchy as I want to. Nobody knows.
Can you tell people what RBF is?
Resting bitch face.
You have that?
Yeah, resting bitch face. I have it really bad.
Uh-huh.
And I also I'm quiet. I don't really, I'm kind of talking a lot here, but I really don't talk that much to people. And I don't
Yeah. And so like someone like the Sucklord, who is, seemingly at least extroverted, can go out there and pitch his work and be sort of flamboyant about it, and it helps. And I would say that the majority of the other artists in the scene are not. They're introverts. They work quietly at home, and then they have to take their work and get it out to other people, and that's hard. And so I think that's a little bit of where we come in. Yeah, I did ask you to do this interview, but like for the most part, you don't have to. None of these people have to like say anything really. It's great when they promote to their fans, and that's helpful. But creating a platform for people is where the work can be judged by the work and really not about the personality. I guess the personality helps, but unfortunately in the world today, like the artists that are really successful, you think about like the household names of artists like Warhol, Dali, Picasso.
all those dead fuckers.
But
We're all
people,
from the 70s and stuff. I
yeah.
think like household names now, I think that's evolving because
What's a household name now? Banksy.
but that's like 2002, right?
Okay, what you tell me? What's a household name for an artist?
I don't fucking know. That's my
But my point is, those people are memorable because, like you said, it's because they are seemingly extroverted and have, they just have good promotion. Think of like Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst. Like, I don't necessarily think that their work is better than other contemporary artists. They just have better marketing.
Yeah, and I've heard both of those guys are personally dicks.
Well, on that,
Instagram, like I hate social media. I hate it. I think I think it's really divided us, and I don't think human beings are equipped to handle it. But that's a whole nother interview. I think, but I use Instagram. Instagram is the whole reason why I have followers. It's the whole reason why any of my toys sell. And I'm introvert as fuck. And Instagram does all the extroversion for me. Because all I have to do is just take a picture of this thing I just made and post it, and then I go about my day. So if people want to be like, oh, I'm introverted and I can't make work, well, fuck that. Pardon my language, but just do it. We need more artists, because if we stop making art, the robots are gonna win. We're fucked.
Well, on that note, I think that is a brilliant place to end,
Okay.
because fuck the robots. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. Congratulations on doing some great work. And, I know everyone around here is a big fan. So
awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you again. We'll see you soon. Take care. Excellent. That was awesome.